I've always loved putting things in order. When I was a little girl, I loved putting the markers back in perfect rainbow order. It might seem silly, but I just knew that each thing had a place where it belonged. As a teenager, I worked in the library and I loved putting the books in order with the spines neatly aligned. Later on, I became a teacher because I felt like I could really be there for my students. I knew I could be their guide and show them that something might be difficult and they might not understand it quite yet, but I've got them, that they can trust me, and I will walk them through the process. I loved showing them how putting things in order and breaking things down into very simple steps made everything easier. Years later, I started following this couple on YouTube, and I found out that they had a podcast. I realized that listening to them on their podcast made me feel like I had a true connection with them. They were talking directly to me. There weren't any walls between us, and I fell in love with podcasts. A few weeks later, a friend of mine wanted to start a podcast and was really struggling. She had spent hours and hours going down so many Google rabbit holes, so she asked for my help. I loved the idea and went all in, learning all of the ins and outs and behind the scenes pieces that go into making a podcast. I realized that I could take my love for systems and putting things in order to help her. She was overwhelmed with all of the pieces trying to put her podcast together. I broke it down into simple, manageable chunks for her. Because starting a podcast is really like building a house. When you have the vision, blueprint, and a guide who can walk you through each step and hold your hand, it can actually be really simple. It's not as hard as you think it is. All you really need is a great podcast teacher.